Hello everyone and welcome to Salesforce Apex Hours. My name is Meera Nair and today's session is about integration using Salesforce Connect. Then we will see the advantages and limitations of this approach. Thank you so much Amit again for this opportunity to share my knowledge as part of Apex Hours. A little about myself. I am currently working as a Salesforce architect at UST in Trivandrum, India. I'm a Salesforce MVP and Salesforce Certified System and Application Architect. I'm also leading Salesforce Trivandrum Developer Group. This is my Twitter and LinkedIn handle. And this is our agenda for today. We will see the details about what is Salesforce Connect, the different approaches available as part of Salesforce Connect. Then we will see the major components of Salesforce Connect. After that, we can see two major connectors available with Salesforce Connect. One is crosstalk adapter and one is OData adapter. Last, we will see the limitations that we need to consider before deciding Salesforce Connect as an integration solution. So when to use Salesforce Connect? Whenever you would like to display, search or modify data stored in an external system, Salesforce Connect is one of the solution option. When you want to access data stored in an external system, we have got two options. Either you can duplicate that data within Salesforce or you will be able to retrieve that data in real time. But retrieving in a real-time manner is not that easy. And if you want to duplicate that data in Salesforce, again the maintenance effort is high. That is, you want to always maintain data in two different systems. So if you don't want to duplicate data storage in Salesforce, Salesforce Connect is a good solution option, especially when the data that you want to retrieve and display in Salesforce is not so huge. The advantage here is that you will be able to access always the latest data from external system and you will be able to work with this data same like a Salesforce object itself. That is, you will be able to create a tab for this data. You can execute SOQL queries. You will be able to create even reports also. So all those details we will see in the upcoming slides. There are multiple type of adapters or approaches by which you will be able to connect to an external system utilizing Salesforce Connect. One is crosstalk adapter where you will be able to connect one Salesforce system with another Salesforce system. This will be utilizing Salesforce REST API. Second is file connect. File Connect can be used to connect Salesforce with some other file management system like Cube, Google Drive or SharePoint. And the last one is OData adapter. You will be able to connect with any system that provides OData format. All these details we can see later. Before getting started with the actual adapter, let us see two major building blocks of Salesforce Connect. First one is external data source. External data source is where you will be defining to which system you are going to connect, the service type associated with that, what kind of authentication approach you are going to use, what's the adapter type. Also, you will be able to set different parameters like whether you are allowing search on this particular created objects. Is that going to be writable? Are you going to enable high volume data so that some of the limitations can be avoided? So all the settings will be happening within external data source. And the second component is external object. Once you establish a successful connection with an external data source, you will be able to validate and sync external objects table information to Salesforce. Each of those tables will be created as an external object in Salesforce. In addition to creating this object, you are allowed to create your own custom fields, including lookup relationship as part of an external object. Now let us see how to use crosstalk adapter to connect to another Salesforce system. You know that we have got already Salesforce to Salesforce approach to connect between two different Salesforce environments. So this is another approach, and as per the Salesforce latest recommendation, Salesforce to Salesforce might not be getting supported in future and we need to utilize crosstalk adapter option instead of that. Instead of going through the details in the slide, let me go to one of my environment and let us see how to utilize crosswalk adapter to connect to different Salesforce org. This is one of my developer edition. You can see it is Mira demo org. Similarly, I have another environment open here, which is called Mira Dev. So what I would like to do is in Mira demo org, I would like to connect to the other dev org. In setup, you can search for external data resource, and when you are in this page, you will be able to create new external data source. And one thing to consider here is that to utilize Salesforce Connect, you need to purchase a license. We will see how many data source you will be able to create utilizing one license in the later limitation slide. So here you can give any name for the external data source. Since we are going to connect to my dev org, let me give it as something like dev org. And the type, like I mentioned, you can select from here either file, connect or OData. So in our case, it is going to be cross-org adapter. So I'm choosing it as cross-org adapter. And then you will be able to define different parameters. One is like you would like to connect to a production or sandbox or what kind of environment you would like to connect. Since it is a dev org, I am choosing it as production URL itself. And by default, the time of period for the connectivity is 120 seconds. And we can also enable search. That means once you enable this search for all the objects that is getting created through this connection, you will be able to perform a global search, and those records also will be retrieved along with the internal records. And then there is an option called writable external objects. That means once the data is retrieved from external system and displayed in Salesforce, if you want to modify that data and that needs to be reflected back to the source org. In that case, you need to enable this option. Let us see that option also. So I'm enabling writable external object option also here. And the entity type, this is the authentication part. Entity type, we have got two options. One is per user and named principal. Per user means for each of the users, we need to define a separate authentication mechanism. And named principal means we are going to utilize the same credentials to access all the data within the system. So here I am using named principal. With named principal, we have two authentication protocol available, either using OAuth2 or using password authentication. If you use OAuth2, you need to provide the authentication provider details or provider details also. So let us choose password authentication. And if you choose password authentication, what you need to give here is your username, that is the org to which you would like to connect. Also the password. Password should be appended with security token. So I am providing password appended with security token here, and now you can save this external data source. Once this connection is established, you will be seeing a validate and sync option here. So what it will be doing, it will be connecting to the actual external system, and this is going to check if the connection got established correctly. And if the connection got established correctly, all the objects or data available in that external system will be retrieved and displayed here. Let us try this out. The connection got established successfully and all the objects available in the external system, which is the Salesforce system itself, is displayed here. And you can select one of those objects from here. I'm selecting account object, and then you can click on sync. The sync operation was success, and under external objects, you can see the account object got created. Now what we can do is we need to see if we are able to retrieve data from external objects. For that, what I am going to do is let us create a tab for this external object and add to one of our existing sales app. So you will be able to create new tab similar to how you create a custom tab for custom object. Just click on new custom object tab. and you can select it as account itself here. Choose the tab style and save this tab. Okay, now let us update the tab list and add account also here. It may be a bit confusing since the standard object tab is also the same. Okay, it's available here. Let us add this account tab and open this accounts. Let us change the list view and take all. Now you can see data from external system is getting displayed here. Let us quickly go and verify. This display URL is basically URL from the external system itself. Okay, let me take this link and let us check in the other environment. The same record got opened in the source environment. Now what we can do is, this is a demo account, right? So let me try to update the name of this account. Since we have enabled external object is writable, this data should be updated back to the source environment. I'm updating the name as test servers demo account and saving this. This is the source org. I'm refreshing and checking to see if the data or the name code, yeah, you can see the name code updated correctly here as test apex servers demo account. So you can see bidirectional sync is happening and the setup is really easy with crosswalk adapter. Now let us see if we can actually establish relationship also. For that, as of now, we have just sync account data only. Let us go ahead and sync contact record also from the external system. So I'm executing validate and sync again and selecting contact object here. Let us click on sync. So contact is also synced to our environment. And if I go to one of the account and if you go and see the related list, you can see no data is available because the relationship is not successfully established between these two account and contact record. So we need to do two things to get that data reflected back in our destination environment. One is you need to establish a relationship between account and contact external objects in our current environment. Then you can modify your related list to reflect the account contact related list also. So as a first step, let us go to external objects itself. And now we can see how you can establish relationship between these two objects in our environment. This is contact. Let us open contact. And all the custom fields or all the standard fields available in the external object will be getting created here. But you can see it is appended with an underscore underscore C. And if you see the external object, you can see all the external objects will be appended with underscore underscore X. To establish the relationship, you can click on create new field and select. Then we need to select the relationship. If you see a relationship, you can see external lookup relationship and indirect lookup relationship. If you want to connect your current external object with another external object, we need to choose external lookup relationship. And if the relationship is to be established between another internal standard or custom object, then we need to select indirect lookup relationship. Since currently it is with an external object itself, we have selected external lookup relationship. Click on next. Related to, you can give it as account itself. And field label is account length. You can define. Keep the defaults. And the field is getting added to contact layout. And we are adding it to account layout also. Let us save this. Go back to the test account we have. Refresh and check if the relationship got established correctly. Now you can see the contact related list coming here, but we don't have any records, so no records are getting displayed. Let me try to create a new contact for this particular account. I'll just give name as test and last name as contact, and then save this record. Okay, but you can see this is failing, and error received from the external system is please populate email. I think we have got a validation rule in the external system. Yes, we have got a validation rule in the external system. You can see even that is getting fired in our environment, which is really good. So let me populate an email and save this record. Now the contact got saved successfully, and this is saved internally in our current environment. So we need to go back to our source org and see if the same contact is getting reflected in the source org. For that, let me refresh the window. And you can see the same contact got created here also with the details that we have entered. So this is comparatively very easy to integrate two different Salesforce systems. In addition to that, like I mentioned, you will be able to even create reports also if the report is enabled for that particular external object. Here I have not yet enabled a report on contact. So maybe I can go back and create a or enable reports on account object. And if we go to reports and try to create a new report, we should get accounts also. Yeah, this one. You can see we can easily create a report for the external object. Just pretty cool. But there are some limitations also associated with external objects that we will see later. In addition to that, you can also define the field level security and OWD for accounts also. So if you go to setup and if you take profile, you can see can set the external object permission for each of the profile. Similarly, field level security is also available. If we go back to the presentation, we have seen all these different options while setting up a cross-org adapter, the authentication type, validate and sync. Okay, so now I hope you are clear with how you will be able to utilize Salesforce Connect to set up or connect two different Salesforce environment. Now let us see another adapter available with Salesforce Connect, which is called OData adapter. So OData is called Open Data Protocol, which is a simplified version of RESTful API. And in this approach, everything is considered as resources. That means using the link, you will be able to retrieve individual resources using name, or you will be able to execute a select query to fetch information from a particular table or a resource. And you can even create a new resource using OData protocol. And OData supports both. OData has two versions, 2 and 4. where 2 supports both XML and JSON format, and OData format support just JSON. Now, let us go back and see how we will be able to utilize OData adapter and set up connection with an external system. I'm trying to create a new external data source. You can give it as order DB. So Trailhead has a module on how you can utilize OData adapter to connect to an external system. I'm utilizing the same endpoint URL. The type of connection here you can select as OData 2 because that is what's supported by this particular environment. And URL also you need to provide. In our case, this is the URL to connect to the external data source, and rest of the settings we can keep default, the timeout, and format you can see AtomPub. So OData provides two kind of format. One is JSON and one is AtomPub. AtomPub means this is normal XML format only. And you can give server driven pagination also, meaning the pagination will be handled by the external system and you won't be able to control that within Salesforce. And authentication type, we are keeping it as anonymous itself. We don't need any authentication to connect to this particular endpoint. So let us save this connection and click on validate and sync to see if we are able to successfully establish a connection to the external system. It got connected successfully. So we can select order and the child object order details here and sync. It created those two objects, that is order and order details. But most probably the problem here is that order details and order, the connection is not established. So like we did before, we need to set up the connection. For that, what we can do is, here is an order ID field. So this order ID field, you will be able to convert it as a lookup relationship. So choose change field type, and here since we are going to connect or convert it as a lookup relationship to an external object itself, choose it as external lookup relationship, and it will be related to the order object that we just retrieved. And save this. Now, if we need to see this data, definitely we need to create a tab for this. So let us go to setup and create a new tab for order object. Again, let us update our personal tab settings and add order object also. If we open the order tab now, you can see all the records from the external system getting displayed here. And maybe we can open one of the record and see like if they are related. Okay, we need to add the related list so that we can see the order item details. Let me quickly go to the object. Since we edited an existing field, the related list are not yet added. So what we can do here is we can go to the object itself, external object itself. And like a normal object, you will be able to edit the standard page layouts and you can add related list, order detail as a related list. Let us save the page layout. Now we can refresh the order detail and see if we are able to see the related list. You can see it is there, but there are no records associated with that. That's why we are not seeing any data. Probably I can go back to some other record to see if we have got data. So this is an order record and we can go to the related list and you can also see the order details. So we are able to successfully establish a relationship between order and order detail, which is another external object. Similarly, you will be able to create relationship between an external object and also an internal object. For that, under the custom relationship, what you can do is create a new custom field of type indirect lookup relationship, meaning you are going to connect this external object with an internal object. So we have seen all these details like the different format, the different parameters that we need to give while creating a Salesforce Connect OData adapter, and the authentication approach. Also here it can be anonymous per user or name principal. Now in the next few slides we will see some considerations or limitations we need to take care of while deciding Salesforce Connect as a solution option. First is license considerations. If you purchase a Salesforce Connect license, by default, you are getting an option to connect to 5 different org, that is 5 cross-org licenses, and also one license for OData adapter. So if you need to connect to another org or more than 5 org, or if you want to connect to another endpoint which has OData adapter, you need to purchase additional license. Or to overcome this, we in the past we have utilized middleware also, which can basically convert multiple endpoints and give it as a single data source so that you don't need to consume additional license. Also, there are some other rate related limits like maximum external objects that you can create in a particular org is 100. There are other limitations also on the maximum number of join query that can be executed, number of rows that is retrieved, which is or 100K only. When there are more records and if you are executing service driven pagination, in that case maximum 2000 records only will be getting retrieved in a single page. To overcome all these limits, there is an option called high data volume. But if you enable high data volume, there are some additional limits coming along with that. Like you won't be able to access this feature using Lightning Experience, and external objects will be available only in Classic Experience. Even if you won't be able to access this in mobile, reports and dashboards are not available. You won't be able to edit this external object, meaning data cannot be updated. You will be able to retrieve that in a read-only mode. Reset items won't be available, record fields won't be available, and even console option won't be available if you enable high data volume. Now let us see the other limitations associated with Salesforce Connect. Like I showed before, you will be able to set organization by default and FLS on external objects also. But record level control is not possible. That is, you won't be able to have sharing rules on external object records. In addition to this, there are a set of limitations for SOSL and SOQL queries also. Some parameters like the includes, like excludes keywords cannot be used along with external objects. And also keywords like average count, having, group by, all these are not supported with external object. There are some additional features also which is not currently supported with external objects, like you cannot create merge fields, formula fields, record types. Validation rule is not possible on an external object. Field history tracking is not supported. Quick action is not supported. You cannot create text area rich type of fields for external objects. Flow and process builder is not supported. Then if the high data volume is enabled, we have seen additional set of limitations. Also sharing is not supported. Triggers are also not supported. If you need to write a trigger, you need to have asynchronous mode of execution. And a last consideration, like when you are utilizing Salesforce Connect Sync operation, automatically the object will be getting created. In case if the external source is updating some changes on that object, like on the external system, they are adding a new field. In that case, you need to sync the same object again to reflect the changes back to Salesforce. And in case if you have made any change like label name changes to the field that you have that got created as part of sync, that will get overridden automatically. To avoid that, there is an option to create external object in a different way. Instead of validate and sync, when you go to external object, you will be able to create new external object from here. But only disadvantage here is that you might need to create all the fields and everything manually. It won't be getting created automatically. But the advantage here is that the changes that you made on the label or the field length, that won't get affected even if you do a validate and sync of the external object utilizing this approach. And these are some resources that I referred to prepare the content. You can follow us Salesforce Apex Hours here. Thank you so much for watching this session. Have a nice day.